The Ravens make more moves, and this time they're adding another piece into that offensive line room. Baltimore has signed offensive lineman Hakeem Adeniji, and while this isn't looking for the Baltimore Ravens to start him immediately, this is the type of addition that can make your roster better. Because of this, offensive line, as we know, is one of the most important positions in football, and you do not need every player in your offensive line depth to be a star. You need guys who can understand technique and leverage, and guys who can understand and handle different responsibilities, whether it is playing guard and tackle. Due to this, the season is a very unpredictable thing, as we know, with injuries, and Adeniji brings something that most offensive linemen don't do. He is a veteran offensive lineman who has experience and has played meaningful snaps and also has experience within multiple different positions in the NFL. And now he gets another opportunity in Baltimore. So today we're going to talk about who Hakeem Adeniji is, what type of player he is in the trenches and in the offensive line room, and why the Baltimore Ravens wanted to add him before training camp. But before we get into that, you guys are going to want to make sure to subscribe to Ravens Digest. We are at 931 subscribers. We are so close to hitting that 1K goal. Keep hitting that subscribe button. It is completely free, no cost, no price at all. And we are always providing daily Ravens videos, updates, and all things analysis regarding the Baltimore Ravens on a daily basis. You guys are not going to want to miss out on the content we are providing. But when you look at this signing, the biggest thing people need to understand is the role that Adeniji is coming in for. He is not coming in to replace Ronnie Stanley, as we know, and he is not coming in as a guaranteed starter for the Baltimore Ravens. This is not the expectation. The Baltimore Ravens are bringing him in because the offensive line room has been having some changes, as we know with the recent signing of Ethan Pochik. And the NFL season is very long, guys can get banged up and injuries can happen, and players can miss time. And when an offensive lineman goes down, you can't just throw every single and anybody in that position to go and fill in that technique. The player needs to know the protections, he needs to understand leverage and techniques, and he needs to be an experienced offensive lineman. And this is why the Baltimore Ravens had a valuable buy in Adeniji, and Adeniji gives Baltimore another player who has been through that process of being an NFL high-level story. But Adenji's story is actually pretty interesting because he was not a high-profile player at all coming into the NFL to any degree. Adeniji, coming out of Kansas for the Jayhawks, was selected out of the 6th round in 2020, and at Kansas, he was one of the better offensive linemen in the program's recent history. He was a 4-year player who was a reliable blocker for the Kansas Jayhawks, and he earned a All-12 big selection in that year. As well as this, when teams were evaluating him during the draft, they really liked his size and his experience. He was around 6'4", 315 coming out, and this is something that really helped his versatility when it comes to his technique. He was never a player who was locked into one position as just a tackle. He has experience moving around the offensive line, and in the NFL, this really matters due to the versatility of what you could do with him in your offensive line room. Going into that year specifically, when you look at him coming out, he was a very versatile player, as we know, but he isn't coming in to be such a dominant pass protector or a massive run blocker. He is known to be a very physical presence, and his value comes from being able to do multiple things. He can play in the interior and on the outside. He's played tackle, he's played guards. That means this coaches have a lot of trust and a lot of high value trust in him when it comes to moving him around the offensive line room. This gives the Baltimore Ravens so much flexibility when it comes to training camp, and it gives us more answers to see if he will be a part of the team going into the regular season. A backup offensive lineman isn't always going to be your next star. Sometimes it is about having guys who can handle multiple different roles and multiple different situations that the Baltimore Ravens are going to give him, and Adeniji could fill this role in perfectly for the Baltimore Ravens. Another thing that separates Adeniji from being another training camp body is the fact that he has already played meaningful snaps in the NFL. He was not just sitting on the sideline during his career. During his time at Cincinnati, he was a part of the team that made a Super Bowl run and faced off against the dominant presence, as we know, of Aaron Donald. But in 2021, he played in 9 games as a starting right guard, and this experience matters when it comes to the Baltimore Ravens and what they're trying to fill in. Offensive line is one of those positions where confidence is very important when it comes to blocking. You need to trust your own technique, and you also need to have trust in protecting your quarterback, and you need to be able to communicate with your quarterback constantly. Being around playoff football as he was blocking for Joe Burrow and helping the ball get fed to receivers such as Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, he understands the NFL level competition and he understands what the standard of blocking looks like. And honestly, this is why I believe the Baltimore Ravens made a great signing when it comes to fitting the Baltimore Ravens personality. Baltimore has always valued players who can do multiple things, especially on the offensive line. They want guys who are very tough and guys who are very dependable, and they also want guys who understand football. Adeniji isn't the flashiest addition to the offensive line room, but offensive linemen usually aren't the flashiest pickups. Their job is to make sure that they can do and help everybody else do their jobs. If it is Adeniji's case, he needs to make sure he can help Lamar Jackson deliver the ball. He needs to help Derrick Henry create rushing lanes. And if the offense can stay consistent, offensive line play is one of the biggest reasons why that is going to happen for the Baltimore Ravens. And adding another experienced option going into training camp always helps protect that and is not a bad thing for the Baltimore Ravens to do in terms of bringing in that extra body. The biggest thing that Adeniji could have right away might not even be on Sundays. As we know, training camp is coming up and is very important. Bringing in another experienced offensive lineman just raises the level of competition within that offensive line room, and I also believe Ethan Pocic will have a big thing to do about that. The younger players are now fighting another person when it comes to reps on practice, and nobody gets comfortable within that offensive line room. As we know, the Jovan Gwynns and other players are still fighting for that room. Every mistake gets noticed when it comes to training camp, and every opportunity matters when you get on that offensive line room and you're trying to better your technique when it comes to practice. This is how you create one of the best offensive line rooms in the entire NFL. You don't just hand players their jobs. You make them earn them with hard work and sacrifice when it comes to training camp. But what should fans expect when it comes to Adeniji, and why our Baltimore Ravens fans should feel a sense of excitement when it comes to the depth of adding him? I wouldn't expect him to come in and suddenly, all of a sudden, be a starter for the Baltimore Ravens. As we know, Ronnie Stanley is very efficient, and I see him not being dropped from the depth chart at any point. This is not why Baltimore brought him in, though, I believe. The expectation is very simple. Compete, 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 learn the system, provide depth, and be ready when your name is called. And honestly, this is a very valuable role for him. Every successful team needs players who can step into uncomfortable situations, especially one who can play guard and tackle. This is kind of like a Swiss Army knife, and he can play multiple different things within that offensive system. And this becomes one of the most important things on your roster because you can move him in several different ways. The Baltimore Ravens, as we know, are a team that understands when it comes to building something very important within the team. It is not just about finding those stars within the system. It is about building reliable players around those stars. And Hakeem Adeniji isn't coming to Baltimore with some unrealistic expectation of being a left tackle 1 or a right tackle 1. If he can earn his role in training camp by competing, by bringing experience, it gives Baltimore another option when it comes to the trenches. And it could be a very smart addition due to the team trying to build the deepest roster going into 26-27 post-training camp to lead them to a Super Bowl push. But I want to hear from you guys, and I want to hear what you guys are thinking. Do you think Hakeem Adeniji was a good signing for the Baltimore Ravens? Do you think he can secretly earn a spot on the Baltimore Ravens offensive line room? I want you guys to let me know what you guys are thinking in terms of the offensive line room, and if Ethan Pocic will outweigh him in terms of getting snaps and reps in terms of multiple different positions within the team. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to Ravens Digest. It is completely free as we are providing daily analysis, updates, and all things Ravens rumors on a daily basis. You guys are not going to want to miss the content out at all. And as always, Ravens flock. Until then, we will see you on the next one. Until then, Ravens flock always.